folks, what I'm about to say is probably a prime example of putting the cart before the horse, but I think if there was a chance of us being able to see this in the near future, now's the time. And so let's look at it here. What I'm about to describe is something that hasn't happened since 1966, when Yojiro Uitake, who wrestled for Oklahoma State, went undefeated, 58-0 or something like that, for, again, Oklahoma State, won 3 national titles because you could only win 3 back then. But also, the key element to all of it, something that is, from my perspective, insanely impressive. He didn't give up any takedowns, is the rumor. I don't know if we have any way of confirming that, but that's what we've heard. And so the question is, can we see that happen this year or in today's day? Now, being able to do it throughout your career, that's a massive accomplishment of not just athletic ability and skill, but also consistency and being very deliberate about how you wrestle your matches. So who's capable of doing that? Well, so far, we have somebody who's ranked number 1 in the country who has yet to give up a single takedown, and that's Angelo Ferrari. He's number 1 as a freshman at 184 pounds. Now, he does have a loss on his career from his redshirt season against Carter Starachi. It was 3-1, but all 3 points were an escape, a stall point, and riding time. In that match, Carter Starachi had Angelo dead to rights, I think at least 3 different times, where Carter was deep in on a shot, pressuring into Angelo, elevating the leg, and every single time Carter got close to the takedown, Angelo found a way to work himself out of that position, whether he was applying pressure back into Carter to just get him off his leg, or if he's funk rolling out of the position. Every single time, Angelo found a way out of that match, or out of that shot, and didn't give up a takedown against the only 5-time NCAA champion we've ever seen, and probably will ever see, depending on how the NCAA handles their rules moving forward. That was probably the toughest match that Angelo Ferrari has faced, and maybe even will ever go up against moving forward, because that was a senior. That was one of Angelo's first career matches. And if Angelo continues to progress and get better, I'm not sure who's going to be able to challenge him. But we have more examples. We have more than just that element to look at, right? We can take Angelo's entire collegiate career, put it under a scope, and kind of examine it, observe it. So his redshirt year, he went 10-1. That 1 loss is to Carter Starachi. Gave up 0 takedowns. Now, there's another notable match in there, and that was against Dustin Plott, who took 4th place last year at NCAAs and had Angelo, again, dead to rights on a shot. Probably one of the closest positions that Angelo has been in terms of giving up a takedown. And even still, we saw Angelo, it's not just the fact that he's able to defend this position, but it's the fact that he is very gritty. He, under no circumstances, he is willing to sacrifice life and limb to not give up this takedown, and that's what makes it so difficult to find a way to score on him. Now, again, these matches are from last year. It was his redshirt season. Now that the stakes are actually there, and he's wrestling for a national title this year, and every single match counts, what have things looked like so far? Well, he's 5-0 so far this year, and he's beaten the 2nd-ranked wrestler, Aiden Sinclair, the 6th-ranked Dylan Fishback, 9th with Zach Ryder, and number 22, Chris Moore. He beat all 4 of them at national duels, and also Tech Fall Bellarmine's wrestler. So already off to a phenomenal start. Didn't wrestle against Pitt because he's recovering from the national duels, as a lot of wrestlers had to. And we saw another example, probably the best example of somebody having Angelo Ferrari dead to rights, and that was Aiden Sinclair wrestling Angelo. And he got to the same position that we've seen Carter Starachi and Dustin Plott get to. And what can you expect from Angelo Ferrari? He's going to funk roll. If you get in on a single leg and start to elevate that leg, he's going to reach for either your far or near side ankle. And it's not going to look the most athletic or the most well choreographed, but it's that grit element to it. He's going to grab the leg and find a way to hold on to it, and then get his hands locked, and then adjust his position, elevate his hips, and bring his knees back in all of those elements to defending a position. Aiden Sinclair had him dead to rights. He knew that once he was driving up into this shot, that as soon as he starts to get that leg elevated and get Angelo in a little bit of trouble, Angelo's going to funk roll. That's exactly what happened, and yet Aiden Sinclair still couldn't find a way to score the takedown. So again, Angelo has wrestled several top quality wrestlers and has not given up a takedown against any of them. Now, that's what we've seen so far. But who does Angelo Ferrari have to go up against this upcoming season, to go untaken down, not even in his entire career, but just for this year. And the two biggest ones in my mind are, number one, Max McAnally, who was previously the number one guy at this weight. My observation of him is that he is an expert when it comes to being a takedown artist. His shots are very clean, very aggressive, and when he fires his shot, the time between him taking his shot, getting to the leg, and working towards the finish is minimal. And that's where that time between each of those pieces of it is where you can see somebody extend a position into something that favors the defender. So Max McAnally is probably number one on the list of people I would be concerned about. Number two is going to be a rematch against Aiden Sinclair. I don't know. I don't think Iowa has Missouri on their dual schedule, but they will probably, if they both continue to have the success that they're having, they'll probably wrestle at NCAAs, and it could be in the finals. And Aiden Sinclair has shown that he is very capable of being ready to attack a position against a particular wrestler. Ben Askren, his club coach, mentioned that he has a plan. He game plans, and he gets ready to beat specific wrestlers who have specific advantages in matches. People that I'm not necessarily worried about for Angelo are guys like Rocco Welsh and Zach Ryder, where they wrestle pretty tight matches already, and they're tough in the hand fight, but takedowns are not really something that's a major concern. Now, Zach Ryder could prove me wrong. Rocco Welsh, I'm really wouldn't be that worried about for Angelo. Now, who should we expect coming up in this weight class? Is Jaden James going to be somebody who gets significantly bigger and is wrestling 184 pounds in a couple of years? Maybe. That could be a possibility. It could maybe be Melvin Miller. I don't really think so. I feel like he's probably going to fill out at 65, maybe 74. Or the thing that is also pretty likely is he's just going to get caught sleeping in an easy match. Now, it hasn't happened so far. He wrestled at the Soldier Salute last year and the Grandview Open. Neither of those events did he give up a takedown against significantly easier competition than guys like Carter Starace and Dustin Plott. And that's the element that I think about in terms of Angelo Ferrari and why he can be just this guy who's going to be ridiculously tough to be able to score on. He doesn't relax. He's ready to wrestle every opponent the same way, is what I have observed. And I think that makes him pretty dangerous across the board. Now, again, a lot has to happen in order for this idea of Angelo Ferrari going unscored upon, quote unquote, having not given a takedown his entire college career. A lot has to happen for that to be real. However, if there is somebody in college wrestling or coming up in college wrestling that we could expect to do it, I think Angelo Ferrari is going to be the one who has the best odds of doing it. I don't see anybody else who's really in that area, and has that capability. It's a specific skill set within his wrestling repertoire that makes him that capable. But it's also just kind of it's an it factor, something you can't really describe very well. Now, again, this is he's already taken a college loss. He's not going to be 159-0 like Cale Sanderson, but he's on track to be a four-timer again, very early on in his college career. He's on track to be a four-timer. He's on track to not having given up any takedowns, and those are all incredible elements to somebody who has shown that he's an amazing wrestler. So let me know what you think. If maybe I'm crazy, maybe there's somebody I'm sleeping on at this weight, somebody coming up that I'm sleeping on, but Angelo Ferrari seems like the real deal to me.